CTV News with Caroline Van Vlartigan.
Good evening. The federal Liberals have their majority government. 3 by-elections were held tonight, including in the Terrebonne riding, but the race there is still too close to call at this hour. The Liberal candidate Tatiana Auguste is in the lead over Bloc candidate Nathalie Desgagne-Sinclair. And Matt Gilmore is at Bloc headquarters. And Matt, it has been quite the night.
Yeah, that's right, and that feeling continues inside the Bloc headquarters, Caroline. There's been a change in energy every 10-15 minutes. Tatiana Auguste with the Liberals was leading pretty significantly by about 1,000 votes about half an hour ago. Then there was a little bit of a change, and Nathalie Sinclair Desgagne did seem to start to catch up a little bit, but now it's starting to be a little bit further apart now. So the energy keeps changing. There are some sullen faces around. But with those comeback numbers, it did seem for a minute there that they may be back in the race. And I did have one MP come up to me and say that the last election took 11 months to sort out, and so they are expecting this one to go down to the wire as well. Now, the Bloc really did try to attack this campaign from a local angle, trying to win over voters with the argument that with Carney already in place, without the risk of a Poilievre government, say, that the Bloc candidate was a safe place to put their vote and have local issues addressed on their behalf. Here's MP Christine Normandin.
Back in 2025, one of the questions was who will be speaking to Trump, who will be his counterpart. That's not a question anymore. We already know the color of the government. And in the beginning of the campaign this time, one of the questions was the majority. It faded with people crossing the floor. So it gave us space to really talk about the issues, the local issues that people have at heart. Housing, the elderly, the high-speed rail. That was something that we heard quite a lot about. So it gave us space to really talk about things that mattered to people.
So that's the bet that the Bloc Québécois made in this campaign. On the other side of town, the Liberals made a different bet, that voters liked Mark Carney and that they would vote for his leadership. Here's his health minister, Marjorie Michel.
Those watching politics, they were very often saying that Prime Minister Carney is a reassuring Prime Minister, that they feel safe with Prime Minister Carney. So I think there's a sense of Prime Minister giving them comfort that he's doing the right thing for now.
Now, there is still 7 to 8% of the votes that has not yet been counted, and this race, even with just that many left, is still too close to call. We are awaiting speeches tonight from both the candidate and from Yves-François Blanchet. Both of them have said they won't speak until after the results are finalized. Caroline.
All right, Matt, another exciting night in Terrebonne. Thanks so much. Well, people also gathered tonight in Montreal and others elsewhere around the world today to mark Holocaust Remembrance Day. About 600 people gathered in Montreal to mark the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews and others were brought to concentration camps by the Nazis and put to death during the Second World War. The theme this year is hope and resilience of the Jewish community, and some of the few survivors of the Holocaust still alive today spoke about their experiences. According to the museum spokesperson, that kind of testimony is essential to any effort to combat hatred and persecution.
About 10,000 Holocaust survivors rebuilt their lives in Montreal, and so their stories are really part of the fabric of our society here. And as we're witnessing this really alarming rise of anti-Semitism and racism, it's crucial that we turn to the lessons of the Holocaust to understand the dangers of unchecked hate. And so when we commemorate the Holocaust, it's really not just something that's passive, it's something that inspires us and obliges us to act today.
And it's estimated that only about 200,000 survivors of the Holocaust are still alive around the world. Well, CTV News has learned that Donald K. Donald has died. Donald, born Donald Tarleton, spent 40 years bringing some of the world's top musical artists to Montreal. From humble beginnings, he became one of Canada's most successful impresarios, bringing many big-name acts like the Rolling Stones to the city. Former show morning man Terry DeMonte says everyone who attended a concert from the 1960s to early 2000s did so because of DKD Productions. So it's a big loss for the city and for him personally.
I haven't seen Donald in a number of years. Appropriately, the last time I saw him was at a Krista Berg concert, and we had a nice conversation. But his health wasn't the best, but you know, he was a trooper. And if you ever knew or met Donald, you knew, you know, besides the fact that he would always let you know that there were plenty of great seats still available, he was, you know, he was just a bundle of energy, both in business and in his personal life. And it's another one from the era gone.
And Donald Tarleton was 82 years old and leaves behind his wife, Annie. Well, some residents opposed to parking meters on Sherbrooke Street West showed up en masse at the Côte-des-Neiges NDG Borough City Council tonight. Some 30 residents came armed with 2 petitions against the meters, which were passed by council in March. Close to 450 meters will be placed on Sherbrooke Street West and on some sections of residential streets crossing Sherbrooke. Residents were concerned about a lack of consultation and how the meters will impact their day-to-day lives.
We don't feel like the city has done anything to consider the impacts of this proposal on its electorate. The residents who are here against the parking meters are actually called upon to stand now. So, time to listen and act. Please explain how the city has weighed the impact that this proposal will have on parking for the residents in the affected areas against the alleged benefits.
Thank you for being articulate with your question. The benefits are that there's better parking availability on Sherbrooke. This is a measure to help merchants on Sherbrooke who right now have 1 hour parking and it's very hard to, you know, give a ticket out unless you've been there twice in the same hour or if you send people regularly. So this will allow for the paid parking meters to be monitored, which will allow for more parking availability, and that's studies that have shown over and over again that this allows it to happen.
And the residents maintain that there is adequate parking on the street already and no need for more rotation. They also questioned how revenues generated from the meters would be used to help them. Interim Mayor Sonny Moreau said he will use their petitions and comments to try to mitigate some of the negative impacts of the meters. A third top executive is leaving the Montreal Port Authority. Today it was Chief Financial Officer Albin Fournier. He says he is leaving for a new job in the private sector. 10 days ago, the port's CEO, Julie Gascon, quit suddenly with no explanation. Another executive quit just last month. There has been no explanation from the port for any of the departures. A third Walmart has been added to the list of stores set to close in the coming weeks in the Montreal area. The store in the Dorval Garden Mall will shut its doors in July. Employees affected by the closure will be offered positions at other Walmart stores. Stores in Pointe-aux-Trembles and Côte-des-Neiges are also slated to close. Walmart operates more than 70 stores across Quebec and employs more than 12,000 people. The latest cancer projections for Canada are out, and cancer is still the leading cause of death in this country. And in this province, it appears to be leading the pack. Here's Angela McKenzie.
Throughout the country, cancer rates and mortality appear to be falling slightly. That's according to new projections for 2026 from the Canadian Medical Association Journal. Oncologist and hematologist Dr. Denis Soulière says better treatments and screening are lowering mortality rates for certain cancers.
Those types of screening are translating into an earlier diagnosis and therefore a higher likelihood of not dying from this disease.
Still, cancer continues to be the leading cause of death in Canada. This year, more than 250,000 people will be diagnosed with cancer and nearly 90,000 will die from it. The most commonly diagnosed cancers are lung, breast, prostate, and colorectal. Dr. Soulière notes there has been a large increase in throat cancer linked to the HPV virus.
For a young man, we've seen almost an epidemic of this happening over the last 2 decades. So there will hopefully be a reduction in the number of cases linked to the vaccination.
And with more young people being diagnosed with breast and colorectal cancer, there have been calls to reduce the screening age for both. Barry Stein with Colorectal Cancer Canada says Quebec still doesn't have a proper screening program in line with the rest of the country.
The obligation is on the individual to go and request that test, whereas in all the other provinces and territories, you're sent an invitation to participate in in the screening program.
The study also found Quebec has higher cancer rates than the rest of Canada. However, the data available for Quebec only goes back to 2017 and 2022 everywhere else. Still, Dr. Soulière says it's the first time Quebec's data can be adequately compared with the rest of the country.
Why are we seeing more types of cancer in Quebec, and what would be the intervention to make sure that this level goes down?
Questions he'd like to see studied in the years to come to get a clearer picture of what's happening in Quebec. Angela McKenzie, CTV News.
A new study conducted by McGill University says some religions can teach people to hate who they are. The study looked at LGBTQ+ community members who are also part of religions that do not accept homosexuality or bisexuality, and it found that in many of these cases, these religions may even unknowingly instill a deep sense of rejection and depression in gay and queer people. And this can lead to serious mental health problems like addiction and suicide. It can also cause people who are spiritual to feel abandoned or alone.
When you're contending with systemic oppression, that really reaches every sphere of your life, your faith, your family, your culture. That's where it really starts to get deeply seated and really starts to mold itself into the person's self-concept, where I'm loving myself, not in spite of, but through hating myself because of what I am. And loving the sinner, hate the sin brings this idea of a sinful action. But here we're not talking about a sin, we're talking about identity. We're not talking about a preference, we're talking about a fundamental and intimate part of who the person is.
And Prada is urging that religions do not affirm sexual diversity to look at the data and understand the harm they cause. Well, restaurant ratings are nothing new, but now a new list ranks the best restaurant washrooms in Montreal. Here's Christine Long.
The people who put the tissue in the bathrooms, Cashmere, came up with the top 3 most beautiful restaurant bathrooms in Montreal. Rotisserie La Lune, Marcus Restaurant and Lounge, plus Ile-de-France on the 9th floor at the Eaton Centre.
We are absolutely honored to be recognized.
The judging was by Elise Tessier and the Testé team, who have been visiting and evaluating Montreal restaurants for 12 years.
To find the best places, quality of the food, service, ambiance, decor, price point, uniqueness of the address.
Tessier says the bathroom has always been part of their resto guidelines, and she has visited every single one.
A little play on what we do, in the sense that I had an analysis grid for every bathroom.
She says the bathroom at Ile-de-France is restored to Art Deco beauty that Mrs. Eaton herself would approve of. Plus, the view is exceptional, says Marco Gucciardi.
There is a marketing aspect to having nice washrooms. It's the only time that the guest is alone with your brand.
At Rotisserie La Lune, Morgane Musinski says the warm wood walls are a theme throughout the space.
The design is really cozy and comfy. It's really more like a golden, dark red color. So it's really timeless and really elegant.
Musinski adds that they're on a lot of best of lists, but this is a first.
We are really proud because we put the same effort we put in the restaurant into the experience in the bathroom.
Bathrooms were evaluated based on 7 criteria and received points for originality, layout, and of course, lighting. Flattering lighting seems to inspire selfies.
More people are going to the bathroom. They take selfies in the bathroom. It's part of the experience. The bathrooms that were chosen are stunning.
They are lovely, and it's always a nice shot. So why not?
The bathrooms is not an afterthought. It's part of the guest journey.
A new way to look at Quebec restaurants, recognized by a Made in Quebec product. Christine Long, CTV News.
Well, speaking of selfies, GLP-1 drugs have transformed weight loss and diabetes treatment. And now a new study links one type of the drug with lower risks of heart and kidney damage. Here's Mandy Gaither.
For many who have struggled with obesity, GLP-1 drugs have emerged as a very effective treatment to help lower the number on the scale.
We're now moving from the early first-generation drugs We're moving forward into even more advanced drugs that have more effective weight loss.
Dr. Steve Nissen with Cleveland Clinic is senior author of a study that compared two types of popular GLP-1 medications, dulaglutide and tirzepatide, and their effects on major health complications, including heart attack, stroke, coronary procedures, heart failure, kidney failure, and all causes of death.
Tirzepatide was substantially better than the first-generation drugs.
Nissen says tirzepatide, a next-generation drug, targets 2 gut hormones instead of 1, which signals the brain to reduce appetite, slowing digestion and helping to avoid spiking blood sugar after meals. He says the analysis showed it was linked to lower risk of heart and kidney damage.
There was about a 16% lower risk of all of the 6 endpoints pooled together, but very impressively, there was also a 16% reduction in death due to all causes.
With tirzepatide, Nissen says gastrointestinal side effects were more common, while other adverse events were similar between the two medications. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And still to come, Nick Suzuki hits another Habs milestone for the first time in 40 years. Nick Suzuki made history last night during the Canadiens' 4-1 win over the Islanders. Suzuki had a goal and an assist to cross the 100-point mark for the season. He is the first Canadian to do so in 40 years, and he is the 5th player in the team history to accomplish the feat and the first captain to do so. And CF Montreal fired its head coach Marco Donadel and his 2 assistants this weekend. Montreal lost their home opener on Saturday to the Philadelphia Union. It was their 6th loss in 7 games so far this season. Donadel joined the team just over a year ago. He was the team's 11th head coach since the club joined MLS in 2012.
Ultimately, we want to have longevity. We want to find the right person to be with us long term. We want to create a long-term project with someone. We feel as though we have everything to be able to build something long term. It's about finding the right person.
CF Montreal had a 7-29 record under Donadel. Philippe Ulafroy will replace him on an interim basis. CF Montreal play the New York Red Bulls at home on Saturday. A Montreal student has found a way to combine his love of baseball and math through the MLB Players STEM League. Last month, he competed on the world stage and made Canadian history. Here's Sweeta Brassi.
Involves players' analytics to predict an outcome of a baseball game.
It's a board game that combines baseball and math.
6 and 3, which is 18.
And for Maharley Musgrave, those just happen to be his 2 favorite things.
I like timesing, dividing. I like fractions.
It all started when the 10-year-old boy and his father were watching a baseball game at home. That's when a commercial for a board game called MLB Players STEM League caught their eye. It's a baseball-inspired game where players use real MLB statistics to calculate the moves of their roster. Months later, they found out the league was holding its worldwide championships in Miami. Musgrave sent in a video application and got in, becoming the first Canadian ever to compete.
Feels pretty awesome to be like the first Canadian, like to represent the whole country like for the first time in this game.
His dad couldn't wait to share the news.
He was actually in class when I got it, so I actually came to the school to let him know. I was pretty much in tears.
Last month, Musgrave went up against 25 other players. He battled his way to the semifinals before losing by just 1 point. But he didn't go home empty-handed.
So I won the sportsmanship award.
It was a trip full of memories. He met some real-life MLB players, watched the World Baseball Classic quarterfinal, and left with a shirt and ball signed by the pros. Back home, he continues to sharpen his skills.
I'm probably going to go again next year.
And by his calculations, he may be right. Sweeta Brassi, CTV News.
And still ahead, she is a military reservist with a very good reason to make music.
Menswear provided by Ernest. Elevate your style with Ernest. For breaking news and local news that matters to you, download the CTV News app right now by scanning the QR code on your screen using your smartphone. Or you can also go to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff. Second pair is a gift event including designer frames. A second pair free for a limited time.
Well, rain, go away is what many of us could be thinking by the end of this week. That's as a result of several systems that are expected to move through the Montreal area in the next few days. But along with that, we do have warmer temperatures. So we saw the start of that today. That is with our expected high that was sitting at 15. And our normal temperatures for this time in the season have moved up as well. We're looking at a normal daytime high of 11 right now, a normal overnight low of +1, and all things considered, we are expecting a milder night. So for tonight, looking at a low of +7 degrees. That's along with mainly cloudy skies. As we get to midday tomorrow, we're expecting those clouds to shift over to some rain. We have 6 degrees as our wake-up temperature, and then that rain continuing into the afternoon. So along with that, our daytime high is sitting at 9 degrees. We're also expecting to see some light winds gusting up to 20 kilometers from the northeast. And our futurecast is showing us the system hitting the greater Montreal area by about 11 a.m. tomorrow. We'll see some areas where we see that yellow, that orange, and even red, of course, indicates some stronger rain. Now, by about 1, we're seeing the system extending over to Quebec City as well, clearing out of Montreal by about 6, and then moving out of Quebec City closer to 9 in the evening. And here's what we're looking at in terms of totals for Montreal. So up to 17 millimeters of rain is what we're forecasting for Montreal on Tuesday. Wednesday, however, is looking lighter with up to 2 millimeters. And then we've got potentially another 14 to come on Thursday. But along with all that rain, of course, we're seeing warmer temperatures. So if we look at our daytime highs, we're seeing numbers ranging from 10 all the way to 20 degrees on Saturday. So lots of double-digit highs to look forward to, and certainly a mix of weather this week. You'll want to enjoy that warmth as much as you can, though, before we get to Monday when things could cool down.
A military veteran turned musician is entertaining commuters in Toronto's subway system. Mike Walker reports.
Amid the hustle and bustle of a busy subway station, the classic sounds of Alice Lee's music pierces through the noise.
I think it's really important to me that we make music something that's free and accessible. I think music can transform public spaces.
The musician, who was also a lieutenant in the reserves for the Canadian Armed Forces, started busking at TTC stations 9 years ago. Combining her two passions, music and giving back.
I first started this as a charity project.
Lee is raising money for several charities, including the Sick Kids Foundation, Children's Wish Canada, and Kids Help Phone.
For example, the Kids Help Phone, that is a resource I personally used when I was in grade 7, and I found that super helpful. So now, looking back, I would love to give back and try to help one of the causes that really helped me when I was growing up.
Lee has become a familiar face for many transit riders in the downtown.
When you exit a train or come up the stairs and you hear this beautiful playing, it lifts the heart.
So far, she has raised more than $20,000 for charities.
When I dropped a few coins in her case, that's when I read that she wasn't getting the money for herself. She was doing it for others. So beautiful, so really, truly beautiful.
Lee performs on her free time, rotating at subway stations across the city, on average 2 days a week.
After work, on the weekends, on holidays, I think I've really found my true calling in trying to give back to the communities.
Because to Lee, it's a stage to share her music and spread awareness about important causes. Mike Walker, CTV News.
Lovely. And just before we go, a look back at our top story tonight. The federal Liberals have their majority government, but at this hour, Terrebonne riding is still too close to call, although right now the Liberals are still leading over the Bloc Québécois. Exciting night. And that wraps it up for us tonight. For a report on Christine Fréchette's first day as Premier Designate of Quebec, you can go to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. Thanks for staying up late with us. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.